Roselia wakes up to the sound of eerie crows outside her window. As a vampire, she worries about the rumors that might spread about her dormitory being haunted. She plans to train with her friend Leonis, but is surprised to find a maid cleaning their room. Meanwhile, a group of beastmen from a terrorist organization is being pursued by holy swordsmen until a mysterious voice freezes them in place. A pale blue light emerges from the darkness. In the presence of a mysterious figure clad in darkness, a group of beastmen tremble in fear as their weapons crumble under its power. The shadow demands their allegiance and reveals a sack containing the ashes of their leader. The figure claims to be a Dark Lord and offers the beastmen the opportunity to serve as his subordinates. After pondering their options, the beastmen agree to join the Dark Lord's shadows. The figure then creates an underground complex for them to use as their base. Later, a 10-year-old boy dressed in a school uniform emerges from a shadow and reveals himself to be the one behind the shadowy figure's facade. He is working towards the reformation of the Dark Lord's armies. Dark Lord Leonis' death. Magnus smirked as he thought of his recent acquisition, the Sovereign Wolves, an anti-imperial armed organization. The group was made up of not just beastmen, but also elves and lizardmen, all possessing valuable traits. Leonis was confident they would be of great use to him. However, he couldn't help but think that his minion was a bit too overprotective. As he opened the door to his living room, he was surprised to find a young woman standing there in just her underwear. Despite her apologies, the image of her plump breasts and lithe limbs lingered in his mind. The trio was having breakfast, with Regina serving up her delicious specialty, fluffy pancakes. Leonis complimented the meal, and Roselia made sure he also had some greens. However, their conversation turned to the haunted mansion rumors surrounding their dorm, with Roselia claiming to have seen a ghostly maid earlier. Leonis tried to change the subject by mentioning their joint training session against the 11th Platoon, led by Fenris Edelritz. Nevertheless, he couldn't help but question the logic of having holy swordsmen fight each other. Overall, the trio enjoyed their meal and discussed the day ahead of them. Roselia explains to Leonis and Regina that holy swords are said to mature by clashing against each other in training matches. The power of holy swords is different from that of sorcery, and they are tools granted to humanity to strike back at the voids. By achieving high-tech standards, humanity was able to build advanced assault gardens to house the holy swords. Roselia is excited for her first training match since acquiring her own holy sword, and shares that achieving good grades during training can lead to an invitation to the Holy Sword Blade Dance Festival in the capital. Leonis, on the other hand, sees it as an opportunity to potentially scout out the capital for his malicious plans. Meanwhile, a young man dressed in priestly attire checks on a humanoid girl fused to a mana furnace and proclaims her to be their prophesied goddess. The text also describes a ruined city that was destroyed in the Stampede 6 years ago, and a titanic man-made structure that serves as one of the final fortifications to safeguard humanity from the apostles of emptiness. Leonis and Roselia make their way through the Boreal Forest replica combat field, already aware of the enemy's potential traps. Roselia spots a trap ahead and communicates with Elphine to confirm the enemy's whereabouts. Meanwhile, Sakuya attacks the enemy's base, distracting them from Leonis and Roselia's flanking maneuver. Regina stays behind to protect their own flag with her anti-void annihilation cannon, though its power is inhibited during the match. Leonis praises Roselia for her cautious decision and is heartened by her worthiness as his right-hand woman. Meanwhile, Instructor Diglicet observes the bout on a large monitor in the Academy sports grounds. The 18th Platoon was not favoured to win their morning match against the formidable Fafnir Dorm at Excalibur Academy. The students had low expectations for the platoon, with Sakuya being a skilled fencer but struggling in team settings, Elphine's holy sword losing its power, and Regina's large cannon being unusable. The recent addition of a 10-year-old boy was also viewed as baggage. Only Roselia, the platoon's new leader, had shown promise with her awakening holy sword, although many believed her recent victory was due to luck. As Rosalia and Leonis made their way through the forest replica combat field, they faced an archer's attacks. Rosalia's intuition led them to a hill where they encountered the 11th Platoon's captain, Fenris. Meanwhile, in the spectator seats, a girl rose to her feet, hinting at potential interference in the match. In a match against the formidable Fafnir Dorm at Excalibur Academy, the 18th Platoon faced low expectations due to their perceived weaknesses. However, a group of young refugees in the spectator seats cheered them on, believing in their capability. A mysterious girl in a maid's attire also appeared and expressed her confidence in the children's intuition. In the heat of battle, Rosalia showed her true strength as a holy swordswoman, using her iron will to defeat Fenris and the 11th Platoon. Her victory was celebrated by her team with enthusiastic cheers. After winning a training match against the Fafnir Dorm, Rosalia and her teammates celebrate at the Undine bathhouse. While soaking in the hot springs, they discuss the battle and their various accomplishments. Sakuya expresses regret for falling into the enemy's trap, but Rosalia reassures her and praises her victory over the trap expert. Regina and Leonis joke around, and Elfine mentions her cat. Regina even insists on washing Leonis, the Dark Lord, in the girl's bath, much to his embarrassment, and Rosalia helps rinse his hair. Despite the fun and relaxation, Rosalia's vampire senses detect danger lurking in the shadows. Rosalia insists on washing Leonis, the Dark Lord herself, as she finds him not thorough enough and in need of some grooming. Despite Leonis's nerves, Rosalia enjoys lathering shampoo and massaging his head. Meanwhile, Regina mischievously grabs Sakuya's breasts while washing her back, causing playful retaliation. Amidst the relaxation at the bathhouse, tension mounts as Rosalia's vampire senses detect danger lurking in the shadows. Sakuya screams in embarrassment as Leonis accidentally sees her chest, and she covers him with a towel while scolding him. Meanwhile, Elfine investigates suspicious data related to the terrorist attack and discovers the existence of a top-secret project named D-Project. In another location, Leonis is blindfolded while being washed by Rosalia and Regina, but their teasing is interrupted when Rosalia receives an urgent summons from the Administration Bureau. Rosalia and the 18th Platoon received an urgent summon to Excalibur Academy's anti-void tactical conference room. There, they were shown footage of a large, dilapidated structure that emerged from a void territory 6 years after disappearing. It was the 3rd Assault Garden, Rosalia's birthplace, and it was moving at 4th combat speed towards the 7th Assault Garden. The platoon was ordered to investigate the 3rd Assault Garden, and as Knights of Excalibur Academy, they accepted their duty to protect their home. The 18th Platoon received orders to investigate the 3rd Assault Garden, Rosalia's birthplace, which had emerged from a void territory and was moving towards the 7th Assault Garden. They were given permission to retreat in the face of danger and to report back for a larger search party. During the meeting, Rosalia questioned why they were chosen for such an important mission and realized it was because of her political importance. Despite her anxiety, she resolved to fulfill her duty as a holy swordswoman. As they prepared for their mission, Rosalia opened up to Leonis about her survivor's guilt. Soon after, they received important information regarding their mission route from Elfine, and Rosalia hurriedly left the room, leaving Leonis with the quirky duo of Blackus and Sherry. Sherry offers Leonis a sticky donut she bought, which he suspiciously takes a bite of. To his surprise, it has a unique texture and delicious cinnamon taste. Impressed with the advancements of human civilization, Leonis questions Sherry about her part-time job in making sweets to gather intelligence. Despite being his minion, Sherry took initiative without his approval, frustrating Leonis. Leonis's army lacks funds, and he cannot use the Dark Lord's army's funds. He shows Blackus and Sherry footage of a destroyed city that had the Holy Sect's symbol etched on the ground. This could be their sole clue to finding something related to Rosalia's vessel. Leonis decides to investigate the city and leaves Blackus in charge. Ale Curlesio, an apprentice to a Dark Lord Slayer, wanders through the ruins and senses an unnerving presence. A young priest appears out of nowhere. Ale confronts a mysterious man who seems to know her secret. He claims to be the guardian of the goddess's vessel and creates an illusion to avoid her attack before summoning void monsters. Meanwhile, Leonis and his platoon board a tactical fighter on a mission. Despite the danger of traveling over void reefs, Roselia assures him that they are relatively safe in the air. Leonis struggles to resist the call of sleep and receives unexpected attention from Regina, which both embarrasses and tickles him. Under the guise of a simple ear cleaning, Regina's slender fingers send Leonis into a state of blissful pleasure. Despite his prideful protests, he is powerless to resist the young maid's ministrations. Roselia sulks in the sidelines, jealous of Regina's attention but resigned to her fate. Leonis can only squirm in ecstasy on Regina's lap, lost in the rapture of the moment. Leonis is comforted by Roselia Ishtaris, the goddess of rebellion, who tells him stories of her past beyond the stars. Roselia reveals that she will not have much time left by his side, and will be reborn 1,000 years in the future. Leonis promises to find her, no matter what form she takes. Later, Leonis wakes up from sleep-talking and realizes he has been asleep for 8 hours. The team arrives at the Third Assault Garden, one of humanity's final strongholds and an anti-void fortress. They begin their preliminary investigation of the urban area, guarded by the thick presence of death and a suffocating miasma. Leonis and Roselia split up with Regina, Sakuya, and Elfine to investigate the city for survivors. Roselia and Leonis visit the school where Roselia used to attend and find it mostly intact. They climb to the rooftop to get a better view of the city and spot something in the distance. Despite Roselia lifting Leonis to get a better look, he catches sight of something and exclaims in shock. Leonis and Roselia spot a strange symbol in the distance, which Roselia finds eerie. They soon encounter new, never-before-seen voids that Roselia struggles to defeat. As they battle, the ground beneath them crumbles, and they fall into a deep, underground hole. While trying to catch Roselia mid-fall, Leonis is attacked by a massive, angelic void. He wonders if it could be an apostle of the luminous powers. Meanwhile, Roselia struggles to fly with her wings of mana. The situation is becoming increasingly perilous. As they fell deeper into the bottomless chasm, Leonis grew angry and worried for Roselia's safety. Elfine's voice called out to them through the eye of the witch orb, wondering if they were all right. In the midst of their troubles, a massive angelic void attacked, emitting a dissonant screech. With his staff in hand, Leonis prepared to show the creature the true essence of sorcery. Despite being a natural enemy to the undead, Leonis couldn't let the angel stand in the way of rescuing Roselia. Roselia awakes at the bottom of a dark and enclosed shaft, her legs broken from the fall. Fortunately, Roselia is undead and can handle the impact. She struggles to see in the darkness and soon realizes she's in an abandoned shelter. Distant sounds of fighting draw her attention. While Leonis battles a void with his magical abilities, Roselia notices something writhing in the darkness ahead. Despite the void's holy protection ability, Leonis manages to defeat it with his powerful spells. Roselia is nowhere to be seen, and Leonis continues to explore the depths of the shaft, hoping to find her. Leonis found a bloody trail and followed it, leading him to Roselia in a room surrounded by moving skeletons. But they were not voids as he initially suspected, rather they were ghosts of the ruined city. Meanwhile, Elfine, Regina, and Sakuya arrived at the destroyed city to find a massive hole leading to the Assault Garden's underground facilities. Sakuya was about to dive in to search for Roselia and Leonis, but was stopped by Elfine, who attempted to use an orb to investigate. However, a mysterious girl appeared, and a duel ensued before Sakuya ultimately stopped the fight, acknowledging the girl's strength. Leonis and Roselia encounter a group of undead Crystalia knights who explain the tragedy that befell the ruined city. They warn them of a new, stronger Void Lord named Tiaris Resurrectia, who fused with the Mana Furnace and is creating humanoid voids using the souls of the wandering warriors. These voids are different from the others, and cannot resist Tiaris's call, which tears their souls away. The knights reveal that Tiaris Resurrectia was once a member of the Six Heroes, the princess priestess once worshipped by the holy sect. 1,000 years ago, she was one of Leonis's arch-nemeses, and has now returned as a Void Lord. Leonis and Crystalia are left to plan their next move against Tiaris. Leonis and Crystalia are puzzled by the recent events plaguing humanity. The souls of wandering warriors are being used to create powerful humanoid voids, controlled by Tiaris Resurrectia. She was once a member of the Six Heroes, and was known as the Princess Priestess, worshipped by the Holy Sect. The Void Lord seeks to destroy mankind and return it to emptiness, but her reasons for targeting the Seventh Assault Garden remain unknown. Leonis and Crystalia are left with more questions than answers, as they are warned by a group of undead knights about the impending danger that threatens to repeat the tragedy of 6 years ago. Time is running out as they leave the crumbling skeletons, and the spirit that had been holding Crystalia's hand falls to pieces, with a final message of admiration for her courage. Injured and hesitant, Al-Khalacio reveals her intentions of slaying a goddess to the team on reconnaissance duty in the city. Despite her impressive reputation as a swordswoman, the team expresses concern for her safety and offers her temporary shelter. They soon discover that no record of her exists in the database of the Seventh Assault Garden, prompting further intriguing questions. Meanwhile, an observer from the shadows takes notice of Arlie, driven by her own curiosity to investigate further. As Leonis discovers preserved food that has been sitting in a warehouse for 10 years, he wonders about the ingenuity of mankind's progress. Leonis struggles to prepare preserved food, but with Crystalia's help, he manages to cook it properly. As they wait for the water to boil, Leonis reflects on Tiaris Resurrectia, one of his sworn enemies. Suddenly, Crystalia's vampiric impulse takes over, and she feeds on Leonis, acting in a way he has never seen before. Her behavior raises questions about her emotional stability and the mysteries surrounding the Holy Sword's peculiar power, advanced magical technology, and the Six Heroes' return. Leonis realizes there is more to unravel than what the goddess of rebellion had foreseen. Leonis and Crystalia were getting intimate in the warehouse, but Elphine's sudden arrival interrupted them. After confirming their safety, Crystalia reported a possible Void Lord in the city, and the group decided to regroup at Crystalia's family home, the Crystalia estate in the Central Garden. Meanwhile, Elphine revealed they found an elf girl with a holy sword, possibly a survivor. As they made their way to the rendezvous point, Leonis couldn't help but feel guilty for being too soft on his minions. Leonis and Crystalia were determined to uncover the truth behind the strange events in the underground manor furnace beneath Central Garden. Meanwhile, the young priest Nephekes Void Lord offered demon swords to the furnace, awaiting the rebirth of the goddess of rebellion. However, his plans were interrupted by the arrival of a Holy Swordsman investigation team. Nephekes remained calm despite this setback and prepared to eliminate the intruders. Crystalia led the way through the subway tunnel towards the Central Garden. Leonis suggested taking the subway train, but Crystalia insisted they walk along the rails to save time. Before setting off, Leonis gave Crystalia a hero-class item, the true ancestor's dress, to help reinforce her body with her mana. Leonis summoned his elite knights, the 3 champions of Rognus, and Crystalia was initially skeptical of their abilities. She separated the tangled skeleton warriors, much to their delight, and they pledged to protect her with their lives. The mention of chaste virgins being able to become vampire queens caused Crystalia to blush. Leonis and Crystalia reach an abandoned terminal and discover a black-dyed railcar. Leonis summons his bone mares to tow the carriage, and the group sets off to investigate the city. Arlie, who has been designated as the group's guard, reflects on her wounded state and thinks about the potential identities of the man who summoned the large angel-like monster. Sakuya compliments Arle's weapon, Krozax, and asks if it has a name. As they ride through the underground tunnels, Arle and Sakuya discuss their sword-fighting styles and their respective lost nations. Their conversation is interrupted by a shrill roar, signaling the start of their journey to the city's administrative ward to meet their comrades. Leonis and Roselia sit in a furnished train car, with Roselia comparing Leonis to a Dark Lord from a fairy tale her father told her. Leonis is relieved that Roselia does not suspect his true identity. As the group continues their journey, they all carry a heavy burden of their past losses and the current fight against the monsters threatening their world. Roselia and Leonis enter the underground tunnels, deep in conversation about a fairy tale involving a Dark Lord. The Bone Mares, who towed their train car, neigh loudly as they arrive at their destination. Leonis's shadow swallows their remains, and he reflects on his ability to control it. The pair discover an elevator that doesn't work, so they take the stairs instead. While climbing, Roselia reminisces about the time she first found Leonis, and they finally reach the surface at Central Garden train station. The Crystalia home is in disarray due to miasma, and Roselia uses her mana to punch through the front door. Inside, the mansion is quiet and deserted, except for the sound of the duo's footsteps. Roselia enters her family's deserted mansion with a portable device, searching for answers about her father. She heads to the study where she used to read as a child, and discovers a leather-bound, ancient tome with an alien language, which piques her interest. Suddenly, a man dressed in a white robe appears and introduces himself as not human. He summons flames to attack Roselia, and she defends herself with the bloody sword. Leonis, the undead king, polishes a dragon's bone in the courtyard of his estate. He is obsessed with the dignity of his skeletons and strives to avoid being mistaken for a typical necromancer. Meanwhile, Regina contacts him through her Eye of the Witch, and Leonis instructs her to meet him at the Crystalia estate. Suddenly, an explosive blast shakes the mansion, revealing the arrival of Nephacus, a sorcerer, and his undead minions. The three champions of Rognas emerge to protect Roselia, but Nephacus proves to be a formidable opponent. Just as he unleashes a sixth-order spell, Leonis arrives and saves the day with a third-order explosive spell of his own. All the while, Roselia remains at a loss as to who Nephacus is and what his motives are. Leonis is shocked to see Nephacus, a confidant of Azrael, at his estate. Nephacus reveals that he cannot be killed by Leonis's magic and claims that the great goddess has awakened. Suddenly, the man begins to fracture and disappear, leaving Leonis and Roselia confused. The pair notice a gigantic shape rising from the central garden's heart and are left wondering what is going on and why a Dark Lord's confidant would be there. A massive construct, made up of the Third Assault Garden's structures, rises up from the ground and towers over the artificial island. It is Tiaris Resurrectia, one of the 6 heroes who has merged with the Third Assault Garden itself. However, Leonis believes that it is not the goddess of rebellion that the Void Lord had referred to. The mana furnace emits a blinding light as the Void Lord's arrival is blessed by the sunlight. Roselia is determined to stop the construct, but Leonis orders her to wait with his skeleton warriors while he goes to fight it. Despite her pleas and past trauma, Leonis insists on facing Tiaris alone. As Leonis and Roselia speed towards the central garden, a massive structure looms above it, the Void Lord. Elphine, Ale, and Regina also head towards the garden, but are stopped by a horde of voids, remnants of the Crystalia knights who fell in battle. Furious at their appearance, Roselia unleashes her mana, while Leonis destroys them with powerful spells. As they progress, the Void Lord recites an incantation and unleashes an 11th order destruction spell, Io Nemesis, ravaging the garden. The platoon's Eye of the Witch Orb may have been destroyed in the blast. Elphine leads the way towards the bridge that leads to the central garden, hoping to find Celia and the kid. Elphine and her companions are on the move, trying to reach the central garden while encountering voids. As they drive over a bridge, cracks in space keep appearing, and more voids attack. Ale Colesio stays fixated on the Void Lord, while Leonis uses his sorcery to attack the monster, but is unsuccessful. He then draws the demon sword, Dinesleaf, but it begins to resonate, causing him to lose control of the weapon and leading to a fatal blow from the Void Lord. Leonis is wounded after failing to evade the Void Lord's attack and is losing his strength. Roselia, his minion, is desperately trying to help him. Leonis realizes that the demon sword Dainsleif, entrusted to him by a goddess of rebellion, is reacting to the Void Lord. He wonders if Roselia has been reborn as the monster. Elfine, Regina, and Al-Kirlesio are heading towards the Central Garden to defeat the Void Lord while being attacked by voids. They encounter a giant statue of an angel, which is suddenly destroyed by a girl using a shadow whip. In the darkness, Leonis hears the voice of a younger girl caressing his hair. Leonis remembers a promise he made to someone over 1,000 years ago, to kill them if they turned into something else and couldn't be themselves anymore. He also remembers that he vowed to find the real person, and suddenly realizes that the demon sword he possesses was given to him by the goddess Roselia to help guide him to his fate. Leonis grabs the sword, and with the help of Roselia, fends off the voids and the Holy Woman's army. Leonis uses his magic to summon an undead army, and Roselia is stunned but takes charge, leading the Crystalia knights in battle against the enemies. With the army's help, Leonis sets his sights on Roselia Ishtaris's true soul residing within the Void Lord, determined to fulfill his purpose as entrusted by the goddess of rebellion. The battle rages on as Roselia leads her army of undead against the voids. Her holy sword glows ominously as she destroys the defiled souls of the Third Assault Garden with each swing. However, the dress Leonis gave her drains her mana quickly, forcing her to tap into her vampire queen power. As the fight wears on, Roselia notices a small black moon forming above Leonis. Shockingly, the obsidian sphere feeds on the souls of fallen Crystalia knights, making it grow larger with each passing moment. Just as Roselia realizes the truth, a void charges towards her, but a hulking skeleton comes to her rescue with a perfectly timed strike. Dorog warns the princess to be careful and not overestimate the vampire queen's power. Roselia, grateful for their support, fights the voids with her holy sword. Suddenly, 4 figures appear on the rooftop of a ruined skyscraper. Regina snipes at the voids with her drag striker, supported by Elfine's holy sword. Arla Kirlesio wields the Arc 7, while Sakuya and Regina fend off the voids. Arle readies Crow's Axe, a hero's weapon, to slay the goddess, Roselia Ishtaris. Al unleashed her mana and used Crow's Axe's power. On the battlefield, Leonis faced the Void Lord, with Tiaris Resurrectia possessing Roselia's soul. But the Black Moon, Surai Gira, appeared and stole the souls of Crystalia knights. Leonis commanded the souls to gather in Dainsleif, unleashing its dark glow. However, the smiting of the heavenly stars threatened to defeat Leonis. Suddenly, a powerful blast destroyed the spell and gave Leonis the chance to focus on Dainsleif. With all his mana, he swung it down and destroyed the mana furnace, collapsing the Void Lord. The Lindworm Mkithatho, Excalibur Academy's tactical fighter, returns after successfully preventing another stampede and freeing the wandering souls of the Crystalia knights. Leonis, exhausted after using Dainsleif, rests on Roselia's lap, trying not to think about her bloodthirsty desires. While Roselia and Regina discuss a book, Leonis realizes they never found Roselia's father among the wandering ghosts. Meanwhile, Arle Kirlesio, the hero of the sanctuary, sleeps beside them. Leonis ponders the 6 heroes, their connection to Arle, and their involvement in Roselia's reincarnation as the Holy Woman. He promises vengeance upon Neferkes Rizad for his transgressions. As Leonis succumbs to sleep, he clenches his fists in resolve to find the real Roselia.